Folks, it's a real honor today to present a tutorial to all of you that features both patchwork and applique, one of my favorites, and my new fabric collection called New Worlds for Benartex. This is going to be a great tutorial, folks. I'm super excited you're here. Let's get started. Hey, well, welcome back everybody to a fantastic tutorial right here at So Well, presented by Stitchin Heaven. I'm your host, Rob Appell, also known as the Carefree Quilter. If you need to brand yourself, get a Team Rob shirt. And if you don't know what the Team Rob shirts are also about, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day sew-alongs. We have a live sew-along at Stitchin Heaven, and my friend Tiffany Hayes and I are the educators with a bit of different philosophy on precision. So she's got our passion for precision, I've got my carefree quilterness, and we have a blast teaching all of you. Today is about a fun tutorial, an applique on patchwork. Folks, this is something I've been doing for years. I absolutely love this technique. I love this method. I even have a retreat coming up in, I believe it's August of 2024. If you'd like to join me for a hands-on workshop, it's gonna be awesome. This is the Bird of Paradise. It's the first of the applique projects of my new quilt line, New Worlds by Benartex. You see all 9 colors in the Bird of Paradise, and let's talk about design before we actually put our hands on the fabric today. I wanted to use all of the colors to represent my fabric line, so I chose the Bird of Paradise because it had all 9 colors in it. It features the full rainbow, so that's pretty exciting to me. But I also really enjoyed, I was looking for a plant applique because of the heavy dark green and the light green and the way they play together. So that was pretty fun. Now the background are Benartex basics like their Supreme Solid the Superior Solid and or Shadow Blush. And so what you're seeing here also is I've patchworked together, and I'm going to teach you those sizes, to try to make it darker, really dark, and a little bit lighter to build a little bit of impact instead of just having a single piece of fabric as a background for applique. One is I believe it's much more aesthetically pleasing to see all of the rectangles and squares in here. It's interesting, but also it adds a better structure for applique, because often we'll put a piece of applique or several appliques on a single layer of fabric, and that can start to distort that single layer of fabric if we're going to be stitching it down different ways. For me, I like to do free motion quilting around the outside edge once everything is sandwiched together. I know, I'm kind of doing the video backwards today, right? So once all the appliques are down, I do just free motion around the outside with matching threads. And then on this particular project, I really loaded up the background with some real fun kind of graffiti style quilting, just to kind of play with your eye a little bit. So the whole thing for me was not only a really fun way to introduce my fabric line, you know I love nature, but also was a fun way to play with the design for patchwork and or the applique. We have kits available for you here at Stitchin Heaven. If you're doing one of our kits, everything has been done for you, folks. I apologize, but you will not need your rotary cutter for this one. It is truly pre-cut. You will get your pattern. I've got mine open. We'll talk about that in a second. And then you're gonna get your appliques. You have your binding. This is already prepared there. And then we also have, if you'll notice, all of the pieces have been already cut down for you into their squares and rectangles, which is awesome, so that you have what you need to build out your background. And your background assembly is going to be found also in your pattern here. And I want to point out something that I was doing just to make it a little easier on the eye. As we're working through our pieces, and I'll show you how to cut these in a second, basically the easiest way to say these are 5.5 inches wide. These are 3 inches wide, so they can be stitched together, then joined here. I have 3 different lengths. I have a 12, an 8.5, and a 6. But if you'll notice in your instructions, I've written E8. E is the color, and 8 is the size. So instead of it saying 8.5, it just says 8 because I felt like that would have been very busy in the little skinny strips. It says all that in the instructions as well. I think it'll make sense. So you have colors A through E, 5 colors, and then you just have the basically 6 different sizes so they can come together. And as you can see here, it's just playing with a fun different variety of color and or size. And I want to point out how we're going to sew them together, but let's learn how to cut them in case you're working out of your stash. I made strips and I layered my strips up in stacks. So my strips are the width of the fabric, and this particular one is a 5.5 inch. That way I can sew two 3.5 inch strips together. Losing those 1/4 inches, they become 5.5 inches. You see how we're doing the math if you're brand new to quilting? So one of the things I actually do first is I come where it's on the fold. So here's my selvage, the open end of the fabric over here. Here's my fold down here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come onto the fold and I'm gonna find my, let's do it easy here, rotate this around, and I'm gonna put my 6-inch line right on that fold. So my first cut is technically a 12, right? Because I just cut on a fold 6s. Then my next cut was my 8.5, and this happens to be an 8.5 ruler, right? So that's easy. And then my last cut, and you get 2 of those, just to point that out, and we'll get 2 of these with the 6. I come back, I find that 6th line again, so my eyes are finding just 2 marks on my ruler, which I like. I did it to try to make it efficient. And then you'll just have this little bit of leftover when you're all done if you're cutting down from your own. So you need 2 strips per color in both widths, the 5.5 and the 3 inches wide, so that you can make all of the parts and pieces necessary to get your background together. And if you're cutting that math out of your own stash, you're gonna have a few extra pieces. I know at Stitchin Heaven, we are very accurate in our kitting, so they may have matched this perfectly. I haven't built one exactly from the kit. I was saving that from you. I just built the pattern. You know what I'm saying. So anyways, real quick, let me show you how we could sew a couple of these together just to make life easy. So let's go ahead and just take one of my 12-inch long by 3.5 and another 12-inch long by 3.5. Some of these have a definite right side, some of them are solid. So just make sure you're laying them right sides together. Come on in for your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Stitch those together nice and easy. And folks, I want you to build your background in series of rows, vertical rows top to bottom. Because if you look at your project sheet, you'll see that that's the way it's going to have to be constructed in these rows running this way. I think that makes sense to you. After every sewing, we should do a press. How is it that I just get less and less tidy with each video? I don't know how. I have more space and less organization. How is that possible? Don't worry too much about which direction or which fabric you're pressing to in these, because you're going to be using light fabrics. You're going to be using a lot of different directions of seams and things. So there's no real nesting involved here. There's no real bleed through in here. So that's just something you just want to be careful with, okay? And so here you see the two 12-inch long by the 3.5, so excuse me, the 3 sewn together. Now it's 5.5 inches wide. So therefore I should be able to come into here and maybe let's say I just grab the next tone down. I'm sorry, I'm not even following the worksheet right now. I'm just showing you how I developed this myself. Of course, you'll follow the worksheets if you want it to be just like mine. And now I'm going to sew on one of the strips that was the 5.5 inches wide to where those 3-inch comes together, just to prove mathematically it works. And I know a lot of you out there that watch my videos are also designers yourselves and you're creatives yourself, and you like to learn from me just kind of how to get the base, the nuts and the bolts, and go off and do your own thing. That was the kind of student I was, so it doesn't offend me in any way. So I just like to tell you what's going through my head so that you can then go and apply that to what's going through your head and make your own awesome quilts as well. At any rate, base construction, I think it makes sense. I'm going to strongly recommend, however, that you do just follow the numbers in the diagram and the letters in the diagram. And then the last thing I'll point out is when you get ready to sew them, because I wanted this bottom of the quilt to be very dark, I lined up all the bottom edges and I sewed them upward. So at the top you can see they're not going to line up perfectly. Once they're all stitched together, then just find your low spot and trim it across with your rotary cutter and ruler, making it nice and square. And it should finish up about 40 by 58 inches or so. Then once you have all that background, let's just take a second and slide some of this stuff out of the way, yeah? Look at what we've got for you. Now, if you're working from my pattern, but from your own stash, I recommend the Heat and Bond Featherlight. It's my favorite of fusible webs. You'll need to take the pattern that is provided if you purchase just the pattern and not the kit, and trace all of these shapes onto the paper side of the fusible web. My patterns are pre-transposed, which means you do not have to hold it backwards on a light table or a window. Trace directly from the printed side. I've already reversed everything for you. Very simple, everything's labeled. And if you're getting our kit from us at Stitchin Heaven, like I was starting to point out, everything has been pre-fused and laser cut, but you're still going to get the applique pattern in case you have any challenges and you need any redos. Now right now this probably looks like a beautiful rectangle of our New Worlds fabric, but if I flip it over you can probably see there's some pretty cool cut lines in here. So what these are here is the cut pieces from the actual parts here that you're going to see. This green here is going to be one of this light greens here, and it's really, really cool the way this works. So what you'll end up doing then is take each individual color, take a little pair of scissors and just snip free. There's a little tab holding things together on the pieces and parts, right? So of any of the big rectangles, you'll need to separate them first. And then on these bigger parts and pieces like this, here, you can see they've already been completely cut free. And due to the size of our equipment that we're using, you may find that there's a couple of spliced pieces within, and those spliced pieces are going to be hidden underneath some of the other major pieces put together. Now, for example, here, you'll see that this is this leaf that will fit right on here. And in the instructions, the printed pattern provided, I believe I have it listed at about 1/2 inch and 1 inch between the distance at the bottom. That kind of helps set the tone or the balance within the actual bird of paradise. And let me show you where that's all found in your pattern. That's listed down here at a 1/2 inch gap and a 1 inch gap, right? And then you'll also notice as you go through here that this lists where each and every piece goes. Now, the pieces, because they're pre-cut with a laser, they have not been labeled with the number, but they're very easy to see the shapes of just by flipping them over, flipping them around, and working through the design and following the pattern. Whenever I do applique like this, one of the things I love to do is I dry fit, meaning I leave the paper on the back side of the applique pieces as I just go and lay things down where they go. The paper will help you adjust things slightly, but what it really does is it prevents you from ironing too soon. Many of us will think we've got it just right and go and press and find that there was a piece we had forgotten, a piece we had upside down, a piece we needed to sneak underneath another piece. So Rob's rules of applique when it comes to fusible, iron down applique is I never press anything until everything is completely designed and perfectly aligned. A lot of times I'll use a reducing glass and a stiletto or tweezers to make sure things are perfect. Like maybe where you're laying some of the tips behind the actual flower units, where you want to make sure that just some of the highlights of the leaves lay out but don't overlap. Do not iron any one piece down until all of the pieces are placed, and that's the benefit of the Heat and Bond Feather Light. Very simple to press through multiple layers and or machine quilt through those multiple layers. Of course, I like to use the Sharps 8012 style needle when I'm machine quilting, and of course just about any machine and any thread can go through this lightweight fabric and fusible web. Really a super, super fun project. I don't know what more to teach you or tell you about this, but I would love to invite you to please send me your photos. It's so exciting as a fabric designer to see all of you accomplishing your quilts that we've tried to prepare for you. So to me, that's such a blessing. If you'd like to shoot me off a photograph, you can get me an email at rob@stitchinheaven.com. I also, like I said, have this wonderful retreat coming up in August of 2024, where this is going to be one of the patterns available, but I'm also going to be teaching all of you individually how to build your own designs also. I've got 2 other patterns that will be available. One of them was the End of Blossoms video we did quite a while back, which is something that is another very fun patchwork with flowers on top of it. And like I said, I've got a few more that I'm working for into the future to impress all of you and have lots of fun. can. But I would like to invite you, if you're interested in this technique, keep following along, make sure you're subscribed, and consider signing up for that retreat. It's going to be an incredible time together here in Texas. And until I see you all again, folks, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for your love for the New World's fabrics, and please stay well. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.